Okay, can you please reply me about the clarity of my voice? Is my voice clear to all of you? Yes, anybody here can reply me about the clarity of my voice? That's good. One moment, please. One moment, please. Okay, can you please reply me once again about the clarity of my voice? Because I'm observing that there is some distortion with the voice. If someone reply me about the clarity, that's good for me. Can you please reply me? Okay, class. Let's start. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. A very warm welcome for our AFM marathon class. That's about the June 24 AFM exam support. Today is 14th of May 2024, and the students who are taking the live session, or even the student will watch the video. The important point is that let's notify one important thing, that exam date for AFM June 24 exams, that's will be held on 7th June 2024. So approximately you have 3.5 weeks. You have approximately 3.5 weeks. That's, if today is 14th, so almost 17 days remaining for this month. and something 6 days for next month. So that's about the 3.25 weeks. Huh? So important point is that, sir, what the important things that we need to emphasize for next 3 weeks? Next 3 weeks. What important things? And what should be the direction in a manner that we will be able to get success of this particular exam. So I must start my session with a particular point, that what is exactly the exam success equation. That is what variables required to get the success of the exam. Students, do you really want to know about the variables to get the exam success? Yes or no? Can you please reply me? Okay, so the variables, what variables are required here? No? So one by one. The first thing, to get the success of the exam, first thing you people require, that's 100% syllabus knowledge. Number one is this 100% syllabus knowledge. The first thing is this, the 100% syllabus knowledge. Number two, the second point, the exam techniques. The exam techniques. Second point, mark my word, if you have 100% knowledge of the syllabus, but you are not able to apply the exam techniques, that's not possible. That is not possible to get the exam success. And vice versa. If you have exam techniques, you know how to apply the exam technique, but you don't have the 100% knowledge, you're still not able to get success of the exam. That's the point. Exam techniques definitely includes the time management plus the marks management. But the point is that, what do you mean that the time management? What do you mean by marks management? You can ask me. I will discuss this point later with this session. And of course, the paper is based on the theory and calculation. Theory and calculation. You people must have to aware that you will face, during the exam, you will face 55% minimum. 55% minimum. That's about the theoretical aspects. That is about the theoretical content. So that's why in my discussion, I have incorporated one separate variable about the theory. One separate variable about the theory. So the first thing is that these are the three things you need to focus. These are the three things you need to focus to get the success of the exam. But definitely the point is that, sir, how we will cover these things, how we need to emphasize these three aspects during these 3 weeks. So do remember one thing, whenever in a life anyone have facing some problem. So what is the right way to solve the problem? The first thing is to identify the problem. First thing is to identify the problem. And the next thing, first thing is to identify the problem. And the next thing is about how to resolve it, make the strategy. So that's the first thing we have identified. The issue to get the success is about 100% syllabus knowledge, exam techniques, and number 3, theory. Now we will discuss the point how to handle this issue, how to cover these matters. First thing, the very first thing, you have to aware one important thing. Sir, knowledge of syllabus means these are the 8 content of the syllabus. First one, and you can use as a checklist. You can use as a checklist. First is advanced investment appraisal. Number 2, acquisition merger. Number 3, business reorganization and financial reconstruction. Number 4, forex. Number 5, interest rate risk management. Number 6, swap. Number 7, bond valuation. And number 8, the small topics like Greeks, like value at risk. These are the things like foreign investment appraisals, theoretical content. That's the small topics. That's dividend capacity. These are the list. First of all, you have to aware that all these topics you have already covered. And I know that, for example, if there is a topic of acquisition merger, you need to drill down the topics as well. For each topic, you need to drill down the topic of acquisition merger as well. For example, if I say that, what about the acquisition merger? So the topic acquisition merger, number 1, examine either with section A and either with section B. Examiner can examine this topic either with section A 50 marks or either with 25 marks question. This topic scope includes both theory and calculation. That's a point. Theory and calculation. That's the first thing. Number 2, the point about exam simulation and the book reading. Exam simulation and the book reading. Exam simulation and the book reading. If you really want to get success of acquisition merger, that you need to simulate these questions. What is the meaning of simulation? I will discuss. And book reading means theoretical content. But just to avoid these 2 points, number 1, you need to know the scope of the topic. This is what about the scope. This is the checklist. For example, for acquisition merger, there are 9 content of syllabus that you need to cover. Some of theoretical, some of calculation, and it's a combination of calculation and theory. This is one type of topic. So first you need to know where to examine, A or B, how to examine theory plus calculation, scope of content, and how examiner examine. How examiner examine. For example, examiner examine the equity valuation. The examiner examine the complication of WACC. The examiner examine the synergy calculation. The examiner examine the acquisition mergers, reason of the failures and how to avoid it. The examiner examines the mode of consideration matters. Examiner very regularly examine the limitation assumptions and something application of the case. Examiner examine the legislations and also about the hostile takeover, defensive strategy, hostile takeover defense and reverse takeovers. This is what the exam scope. So for each topic, you need to drill down. For example, the acquisition merger I have shared with you. Based on your regular studies, you can drill down the matter of the advanced investment appraisal. You need to drill down the business reorganization and financial reconstructions and all the topics. So first of all, you need to make sure that you have the coverage of 100% knowledge. Students, if I am saying that 100% knowledge, it doesn't mean that 100% accurate knowledge. No. Or you need to more emphasize or take too much stress about the knowledge area of the syllabus. No, I don't say this. Because this time, more important thing is about practice. For example, if you are covering your regular course, if you have covered your regular course by getting the knowledge, and some of the gaps still exist that you couldn't able to understand something of the knowledge area, don't worry. Once you practice the question, once you practice the exam question, you will be able to settle these things. You will be able to settle these things. That's a point. So this is what about the simultaneous approach. Coverage, you need to ensure that, yes, I have a knowledge of the syllabus, not the accurate, not the master of the knowledge, but I know the syllabus content. And do remember, you need to know about the syllabus content for calculation part and theoretical part, both sides. So that is the first thing, that's about the syllabus knowledge. Second important point about exam technique. Exam technique. Students, sir, what does that mean? The term exam technique. Number one, the first thing, make up your mind that whenever you enter the examination hall, you need to attempt your 100% appropriate exam, not the absolute or accurate exam. What is your mindset? For AFM exam, it's about 100% appropriate. Means whenever you go for the examination hall, you have to develop the mind that I will attend my 100% appropriate exam, not accurate. 100% appropriate but not accurate, because if you plan or approach for accuracy, you will not be able to attempt 100% paper. And even examiner never expect that you will apply 100% accuracy. No, appropriate. So during 3 weeks, to practice with this approach. How to practice this questions? I used a term 10 minutes ago that's called exam simulation. What does that mean? I don't suggest to my students to use the word practice. Don't use the term practice. Instead, simulate the exam paper. First of all, do remember your practice questions. It's not your revision kit. That is your AFM past exam. AFM past exams from September 18 to December 23. This is your revision kit. Only these papers you need to attempt from September 18 to December 23, not more than that. Number 2, try to attempt all these past papers with professional skill marks. That's a point. Further, the very important point. Sir, with exam simulation, how we do practice? Yes. Exam simulation means, let's suppose you are taking 125 marks question. Let's suppose that you are attempt 125 marks question. You have to attempt your past exam, this 25 marks question, in a manner that you are assuming that you are sitting in the examination hall. So first of all, if it's about examination hall matter, so first of all, avoid all distraction. Avoid all distractions. First of all, switch off your mobile phone. Shut down your doors, assuming you are sitting in the examination hall. Number 1. Number 2, lock your timer. For example, for 25 marks question, the golden rule is 1.5 minutes for each mark. For example, you have 45 minutes. So you have to attempt question. You have to attempt question within 45 minutes. Number 3, put your best effort. And invest your energy for calculation plus theory, both part. You people are least concerned about theory, but no, you have to invest. For example, if the question about 12 marks theory, 13 marks calculation, so you have to at least 40 to 45 50 to 55% for theory, 40-45% calculation. No worries, first start with calculation, but if you invest majority of the time, 70-80% of your time for calculation, so that means your energy, your time become exhaust to attempt for the theoretical aspect. No. During the practice session, these 3 weeks, do simulate your question and put your best effort for calculation and theory, both aspects. That's important. Number 4, at the end, if some marks remains, don't worry. For example, after 45 minutes, you just able to attempt 18 marks question, 21 marks question out of 25. Don't worry about that. First of all, you have to take more 5 to 10 minutes. Complete your question. And after that, compare your answer with the model answer or your tutor suggested answer. Normally, I provide the student suggested answers to my students for each topic, at least 4 to 5 questions. No worries, you can check your answer with the model answer. And identify the gap. This is called self-monitoring. Identify the gap. Believe me, if you do practice 5 to 7 questions in this manner, you will feel the difference. You will feel the difference. Focus on quality practice, not the quantity practice. Focus on quality, not quantity. That's the point. Same activity you do for 50 marks question as well. You know very well, for 25 marks question, the professional skill marks, that is about analysis and evaluation. Skepticism, and acumen, commercial acumen. But for 50 marks question, the professional marks add on, that is about one more thing, and that's the free marks. That's about the communication. And communication is all about report writing. That is all about report writing. So you make sure that you need to invest your time for the technical marks and the professional skill marks as well. With this session, I will also share my guidance about the professional skill marks. Otherwise, I will share you a link of my YouTube video. You can just observe that how to approach the professional skill marks. Don't worry. So that is the point about exam techniques. Sir, whenever we attempt the questions, how to apply time and marks management? Time and marks management. I have already told you about the time, that you must be very much strict about the time. For 25 marks question, that's 45 minutes. If you are attempting 10 marks question, you have to be strict that for 10 marks question, I have to complete for 18 minutes. That's time management. Marks management means you have to attempt the questions, either theory, either calculation. And this guidance is more about theory. Always draft your answer according to the relevant marks. If examiner asks you something about the 5 marks, something about the 5 marks, something about the 5 marks. So you have time 5 multiplied by 1.8, that's equal to 9 minutes. So make sure that you have to invest your time to complete your answer within 9 minutes. If you're not able to complete your answer within 9 minutes, it's not possible to complete your answers. You people are, number one, two things for theory. Number one, you invest very much less time for practice for theory, and whatever the time you invest in a very hurry manner, in a very quick manner, not able to answer or not attempt the answer appropriately. So time and marks management, it's important, very important. We can only provide you guidance, but you become expert once you start practice for both things, time and marks management. That's the point. I will further guide about this time and marks management a little bit later with this session. So number one, success variable, 100% knowledge. Number two, with exam techniques. And number three, about theory. Students, listen this thing. A lot of question and worries about how to attempt theory, how to handle theory, how to cover the theory matters. Okay, I am giving you a detailed guidance about theory. Number one, about the theory. First thing, that you have a knowledge of theoretical areas. Knowledge of theoretical areas. Knowledge of theoretical areas. The first thing is about that. Knowledge of theoretical areas. Make sure that you have a knowledge of theoretical areas. From where we can get the knowledge? There are two ways, or maybe the three ways. Number one, book reading. Book. Number two, notes. The tutor notes plus past paper theory. Ideally, it's a combination. Some part of the book, but you know that this is not the right time to. If you have read the book, that's good. If you haven't read the book, I don't say any comment here. But you have the topical notes of your tutor, that's good. My students have the topical notes. That's covered the theoretical part. And I also emphasize with the book reading, selective book readings, only the 6 chapters of the Kaplan. If you wanted to get advice, I will give you the advice, contact me on the WhatsApp. Plus past paper theory. About this, I will provide the guidance here. Number one. Number two, practice. Number two, practice. Number two, practice. But the point is that, sir, how to make practice? How to make practice to become expert of the theoretical area? That's a key point. That's very important point. First statement, my first statement. Quality practice. Focus on quality practice, not the quantity. Huh? Sir, what include the practice? Listen carefully. Normally, what you people do, there are two mistakes normally students do for the theory. If you just read the book notes and past paper theory, are you become able to draft answer? No, never. If you just watch the videos about the theory, are you become able to draft your answer? No. Book reading, watching book reading, notes reading, past paper theory reading, plus watching the videos. It's about knowledge. But the other important thing to show your expertise during examination hall, it's to practice. Draft your answer. Drafting. Practice means drafting. If you don't start drafting from now, you will not be able to do your exam according to the exam expectation. Mark my word. Approximately 55% to 60% you will face theory. Mark my word, 7th June, whenever you appear on the exam, with the examination, whenever you appear on AFM exam, you will face the exam where 55 to 50% theory. So what you should do? What you should do now? You have to practice material. You have practicing the material in a way that yes, I become expert to deal 55% to 60% theory. Major reason for the failure of AFM students, major reason is that they don't invest time for theory practice. They do practice 80 to 90% for calculation and 10 to 15% for theory and 10 to 15% for reading and watching, not drafting. Can you please reply me who are taking the live session? How much time you people invest for theory? Can you please reply me? Till now, how much time you have invested, you have done with the theory? If you observe about your past, so that's great. If you invest 40-50% time for the theory and for drafting, that's very good. That's very good. If you haven't not invest time for theory till now you have identified, yes, this issue I have identified. Now I will start practicing the theory and invest my time with that allocation. What allocation? Quality practice with the time allocation and also for the theory. Sir, what is the right strategy? What is the right strategy? What is the right strategy for theory? What is the right strategy? First, I must say here, if possible, get the knowledge of the theoretical area. And it's not too difficult. It's not too difficult. Reading of your regular notes or the selected part of the book reading quickly or simultaneous approach. Just getting the knowledge and practice accordingly. First thing is the knowledge. If you don't have knowledge, then how you will write the answer? So first thing is knowledge. Number one is knowledge. Number two, technique, exam technique. What is the exam technique? As I suggest previously, number one, whenever you are practicing some question, you need to allocate your time in this manner. 20% of time allocation 20% of your time allocation, 20% of your time allocation for planning, and 80% for war time. War means execution time. 20% time for planning. Whenever you are attempting your AFM exam, you have to invest 20% for planning and 80% for execution. So you need to start this practice with the theoretical aspect. For example, let's take one 10 marks question. First, you need to make a plan, good plan for 20%. 20% planning includes what? Number one, reading. You know, reading is an art, and understanding. Reading and understanding. Reading and understanding. Reading and understanding. Reading and understanding. Number two, brainstorming, which means identify the key points. Brainstorming, that's identify the key points. Let's identify the key points. Identify the key points. Identify the key points. These two things you need to invest. This is examiner recommendation. This is examiner recommendation. Examiner recommendation means, first of all, you have to read carefully the case and understand carefully the case. First, read the requirement, then read the case study. Always start reading the question from the requirement. Read the requirement, then read the case study according to the requirement. Once again, emphasize on reading the requirement and ask yourself, have I got understanding about what examiner expectation? If your mind says, your inner says yes, okay, then start brainstorming. Brainstorming means identify the key points. If it's about calculation, for example, APV. So what are the steps of the APV? Base case NPV, what the requirement of the base case NPV, KE ungeared, either by proposition 2 or CAPM. Okay, for base case NPV, what are the cash flows available, how to cover the tax matters, all these matters. For financing side effects, issue cost, debt capacity, tax shield. Just quickly talk to yourself. Number one. Same case for theory. Why don't you people plan your theory? For example, if you are attempting some theoretical content, brainstorm about the theoretical matter. For example, for investment appraisal, examiner asks something about limitation or assumptions or the relevance of the APV. First, make a brainstorm. Why APV, not NPV? Brainstorm the APV characteristics, comparison with NPV, but jot down the points in a manner relevant to the marks. For example, this is 8 marks question. For 8 marks, 6 to 7 points are relevant. Brainstorm or the key points, either just talk to yourself in your brain, or you can identify the points with your scratch card. Means just a quick raw materials. It's up to you. Some people brainstorm in the brain verbally. Some people are good to brainstorm by writing something. I am good for brainstorming by writing something very quickly. The important thing is that 20% time you need to invest for planning of the theory, for reading, understanding, and brainstorming. Then go for 80% time for execution. Do practice in this manner. Do practice in this manner. Whenever you execute your time for theory or calculation, make sure that you are investing your time for execution for technical marks plus professional marks. Technical marks plus professional skill marks. Both you need to incorporate. For example, for calculation, very easy marks for professional. You are calculating NPV. So calculation of all the cash flows, identify all cash flows, it's about technical marks. But if you apply the formula of sum, if you apply the formula of IRR, if you apply the formula of MIRR, so automatically you will not able to get technical, but also the professional marks. So professional marks is not something isolated. It's something about indulge with technical marks. Same case for theory. If you are drafting your answer, indulging the manner of skepticism that challenge the some point, or commercial acumen, it's a part of your technical marks. It's not something different. Students, I need a 1 minute silence because the voice of prayers coming inside the room. 1 minute silence. Allahu Akbar, Allah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. No. Okay, so about the theoretical aspects, you also need to cover the same point that whenever you are attempting your theoretical part of the technicals, technical side. Simultaneously indulge the professional skill marks. That's about the skepticism, commercial acumen, and for report writing, that is about the skepticism, commercial acumen, and analysis and evaluation. And for report writing, incorporate the communication skills about the report writing structure. So professional marks is not about something isolated. It's about integral part of the technical marks. So if you start your practice of drafting from now, so you not just able to get technical, but also the relevant professional skill marks. So that's the point. So this is what about the aspect of the theory. So the important variables for the success, that's the knowledge that you need to develop the content, checklist, exam techniques, and emphasize on the theoretical aspect as well. I wanted to take a 15 to 20 minutes break of the namaz break, that's prayers break. After the break, whatever I've discussed above, especially about the exam techniques, I will conduct a practice question for the theoretical content with you to get an idea how to cover the theoretical content. Is this clear? If you have any question, you can ask me now. I will respond to you accordingly. Or just share your question on the chat box after the prayers. I will respond accordingly. So this is there's a 20 minutes break. Then we will meet after the break. Thank you. After the break, we will cover a practice question. Thank you very much. Okay, I will cover this point. Don't worry about that, about the risk and all these things. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, ji, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome back once again. Now, a practice question support. A practice question support. Whatever I have advised you before the namaz break, now I'm going to share you a practice question support. I'm sharing you here. I'm sharing you one of my suggested answer where I will provide you support that how you approach your answer during examination. Let's suppose there is a question that is called OPAO, December 18 question, and it's also available with the practice exam sample papers, specimen papers. For example, there is a B part question. There is a B part question. This is a 50 marks question, by the way. For example, we are going to attempt the B part, and the B part is about the report writing. B part is about the report writing. Here mentioned that the 10 marks is about technical, 29 marks is about technical marks, and 7 marks is about professional skill marks. Question number 1 is about 50 marks, And with 50 marks, there are 10 professional marks. So if I apportion the 50 marks question in a manner that 40 technical, 10 professional marks. So for out of 40, if examiner asks 29 marks for report writing, so for report writing, if we allocate the 10 professional marks belongs to 29 marks, that is weightage of 7 marks. So total 36 marks here. So you have done the calculation part, the equity valuation, appendix 1, appendix 2. I'm not discussing the calculation part. Now here, it's about an evaluation. Evaluation. So definitely for evaluation, you need to cover the matter with the theoretical content. You need to cover with the theoretical content. So you have already done with the calculation part. For example, this is the calculation part. This is all done, the calculation. That you have already covered with the calculation part. That's a calculation matter you have done all over the matter. Now the point is, if you are going to start report writing, how to plan that particular question? Before planning, you must have to make a good awareness about that. Whenever you write your answer, including this 50 marks question, that's about the report writing. There are 4 components of professional marks. Number 1, communication. Number 1 is communication. And believe me, this is what about free marks? This is, I specifically mention here, free professional marks here for communication. That is about format of the report writing. If you use the technology means if you calculate all these things and use the shortcut functions. Technology means shortcut function. Technology means proper references. Technology means proper references. References means, for example, if you are, this is your main working. This is your main working, main table. So here you mention the working one. So right side is working one. If you mention something about combined company value, that is working 2. You have done with the working 2, value of the combined equity. So if you use technology with shortcut functions and proper allocation, proper labeling, that means you will be able to get technology free marks. And yes, of course, format and technology is very simple. Effective communication. Effective communication means your sentences must be very much precise and clear. Clear means relevant. Relevant means according to examiner requirement. Whatever the examiner requires, mention the requirement, you have to write it. Okay, you have to write it. Don't ecky-pecky. I mean, don't write the answers other than the examiner requirement. Control your emotions. Don't write your answer in a manner that I will write because I know very well. No, don't write your answer in a manner that I will write with my knowledge. Always write out your answer with your own, with the relevance of examiner requirement. So control your emotions. Write the answer according to the requirement, not your knowledge. Okay, knowledge apply with respect to the requirements, no worries about that. But control your emotions. Effective communication means concise and complete. Concise means clarity according to requirement. Completeness means make sure whatever you have written, that's complete. Sometimes you draft your answer and you wanted to show something clarity and you wanted to show something concise, limited. But at that moment, you lose some important points. You just ignore some important points. If you ignore some important points, you will lose the marks. So communication must be effective, technology and format structure. That you will be able to get 2 marks, 2 to 3 marks. Analysis in evaluation, it's very simple. Analysis evaluation means this point start from calculation. Analysis, if you extract the right data from the question, if you extract the right data from the question, right data means right information in terms of calculation, information in terms of theory. For example, if you are doing the calculation, if you take the right value of the tax rate, if you take up the right value of inflation, right value of future cash flows, right value of WACC variables, that means the examiner will count as analysis, one part of analysis. Then if you write the theory, so use these facts of your calculation and the question information. Once again, for theory, get the information from the question about your theoretical content and from your questions. For example, reference of appendix. If you give the reference of appendix, that means you refer your calculation. If you refer your content of exam question, that means you refer the exam main material. This is analysis. And evaluate means your conclusion. Always your conclusion based on analysis. If your conclusion based your analysis, that's count evaluation. If you just have an open discussion, not to conclude anything, that's called analysis. But if you conclude your point, considering the analysis, the information of the question, information of your Excel file, spreadsheets, workings, that means evaluation. So I can say that conclusion with supportive working, that's called evaluation. Conclusion with your supports of questions and your workings, that's called evaluation. Skepticism means whenever you write something, you need to challenge. It's very simple. If report writing, most of the time examiner says that report writing, mention the assumption, mention the limitations. If you mention the assumptions, if you mention the limitations, that means you already challenged this information. Commercial acumen means be practical. Be practical. Be practical. Whatever you are writing, that's connect with the case, according to the case. For example, if there is a case study about companies struggling for finance, but your suggestion is that company need to make investment for software. So your suggestion about investment in software is contradict with the case study where the company is struggling the finance. So that means it's not practical. Be practical. Be practical means whatever the case study is about, your inputs must be according to the scenario. It's applicable. It's practical. These are the 4 content of the professional marks. These 4 applicable for report writing, but 3 for 25 marks section B questions. One last point here for professional marks. Do remember, always write your answer, draft your answer like application. Like application means just throw the knowledge. It's not good enough to get the marks. But if you apply the knowledge and refer the case means you are showing that I am applying with the case study. The simple methodology is that whenever you're writing something, use the name of the company. Here the case ACCA. Use the name of the company. So it makes sense that whatever you're talking about, it's about the company. So that's important. Any of the things. analysis, evaluation, skepticism, commercial acumen. Now, the point is that this is about the professional marks report. Very simple. That you have to mention always to, if examiner mention report to the management team, so mention to the management team, to the board of directors, to the board of directors. For example, this you have to mention that to the board of directors, board of directors. You need to mention a subject, what is about the report writing, very concise. You can skip the subject. Subject, it's not important. Important thing is paragraph. Important thing is paragraph. Important thing is paragraph. What is about paragraph? To remember that whatever the requirement, you just rearrange the words of requirement. You just rearrange the words of requirement. Rearrange the words of requirement. Report is about a brief introduction. Brief introduction, and that is about rearrange the wordings of requirement. That's all. Rearrange the wordings of requirement. That's all. And then after conclusion, report compiled by, if you, the examiner mentioned that you as a consultant, so mention consultant, you as finance director, nothing mention, ignore this. But mention report compiled by, that's all. And date, don't mention the date. Number 2, technology, clear signposting means labeled. Whatever your main working is appendix 1, 2, 3. Appendix having working, you have to label working 1, 2, 3. Headed by numbers, appendix number 1, 2, 3, working 1, 2, 3. And you have to reference this working with the body of the report. With the body of the report. That's the point. Your communication must be effective, that's relevant, focus, and clarity. Now, first thing is about analysis evaluation. Analysis and evaluation is about 3 marks. What includes? Number 1, calculation. That's accuracy of calculation. Number 1, whatever your calculation have made from the data of the question, that must be accurate. Number 2, proper structure of the calculation, main structure, NPV having a structure, Forex have a structure, steps, acquisition, merger having a structure. Main calculation, one side has main calculation, one side is working. Always use spreadsheet functions. And this one I have already told you. Use the data or information for supportive discussion. Use the data for supportive discussion. Use your own data, that's appendix and working, and the questions data. And identify the facts, identify the relevant facts, means connect the things with the case. That's a point. Analysis, evaluation. Skepticism, for example, challenge or critically assess. There are 2 free marks. For example, for acquisition merger, if you are applying the technique for the free cash flow, you can challenge the free cash flow. Free cash flow has having limitation. The projected cash flows may not exactly as mentioned by the management. Inflation rate projections, discount rate using. Same case for investment appraisal NPV method. For Forex, basis risk limitations. Whatever the methods you use, you need to critique. So methodology you use, you need to critique. And the information in the question you need to critique. For NPV, here the information available about the growth rate, beta asset. For investment appraisal, inflation rate. Forex, once again, the basis risk calculations, the estimated spot rates. These are the assumptions you are taking. Whatever the assumptions you are taking for techniques and the variables of the techniques, that's you need to critic it. And one more thing you need to add for skepticism. You need to do remember that not only challenge, but also make some construction. Construction means you need to mention that here the case, if you incorporate more things, the analysis will be more valuable, more authentic. For example, for investment appraisal, risk and uncertainty tools can be used like sensitivity analysis. For acquisition merger, you can use value at risk, the chances of losses, the chances of not getting the synergy. These are the skepticism. Challenge the opinion. Opinion means if the question having some opinion of directors or the management, you can critique that challenge. For example, in this case, it's mentioned that synergy profit margin increased by 15.4%. It's a question part. Maybe possible, it's not, maybe not possible in this case. So you need to critique and add on one point that makes some more, use some more tools to make valuable analysis. That is called challenge. Commercial acumen means be practical. Be practical. For example, practical consideration. Inside, outside factors. For example, synergy. Is it possible to get synergy? Or you need to connect the case that in this scenario, it's possible to get inside and outside synergy for cost, revenue, so on. Commercial acumen also include constraints. Whatever the analysis we are making, you need to mention having maybe to get these things, we face some constraints. In the case of acquisition merger, the clash of cultures, maybe lack of integrity, constraints about the external matter, legal issues. It's about practicality. And definitely, you need to identify the gap area. Gap means you have to mention that be practical and identify some real options here. So that is about practicality, commercial acumen. Sometimes skepticism and commercial acumen are mixed together. Don't worry. You need to incorporate the things. Examiner will never ask that you have to make heading for skepticism and make heading for commercial acumen. You have to incorporate the things accordingly. That's the point. That is the point. Okay. So this is how the commercial acumen matters. This is how the professional skill marks that's reflect to the examination questions. Now, if you are going to write the report, one thing I wanted to discuss here. Okay, now I'm continuing. So with this question, examiner asks 10 marks for estimate the equity value. And that is something about calculation. And that is about another thing that's a very common question to calculate the gain, percentage gain. And then 7 marks about reaction to the shareholder. That is something about theoretical content. First of all, especially, I'm not talking right now about the calculation, especially with respect to the draft. First thing is that brainstorming. That the picture is very much important to show. Brainstorm. By next 3 weeks on a routine basis, someday 50 marks question, someday 25 marks 2 questions, someday 125, 150 marks question, someday 150 marks question. If from September 18 to December 23. Do practice in this with this guidance. Irrespectively what the outcome will be. Practice in this manner and compare your answer. Your position will improve. First of all, whenever you are working for any draft, first you have to plan. Plan your answer. Plan. For example, for 3 to 4 marks, you need to identify 3 well-explained points. 3 well-explained points. Number 1, which must be relevant. Which must be relevant to the requirement. And complete. All aspects need to consider. For example, here examiner asked about the mode of consideration. So you can refer your case. For example, you mentioned that for acquirer, for example, acquirer, if acquirer pay cash, so the percentage gain will be 11 to plus 2.5%, 4%. One thing you need to add as advantage, if accept the cash is very much precise, very much clear as compared to shares, because it's very value, it's very clear, that's precise, that's what I have quoted. What acquirer will get, that's a cash. But the drawback is tax burden. So one thing, cash, you mentioned that with respect to the cash, acquirer will be able to get 11.24% gain. So you have started analyzing. Then you have mentioned that some advantage and disadvantage, that is about commercial acumen and skepticism. Because question is not mentioned that cash means something very much clear as compared to shares. But you mentioned that. That means you have practical ability to connect the case. You critique the aspect of the cash, but the acquirer must have to consider that if accept the cash, they will face the tax burden, have to pay the tax immediately as compared to the shares. That's tax burden have to bear. That means this is also practicality, commercial acumen, but also the skepticism. Number 2, shares. You have to mention the case, 40%. You mentioned that less precise as compared to cash. That's a drawback. But some equity holding, not control, but some equity holding still maintain. 1 plus 1 minus. Next, about the mix of cash and shares. Cash plus shares, that includes 23.4%. That is the mid value compared to above. This is the mid value. Both ingredients, cash plus shares, may be attractive for both. Not the confirmed point, but attractive for both. I am not saying that you have to plan your answer in a very, you have to invest too much time for the planning. No, brainstorm that I have to write something, cash, shares, mix. Then start writing accordingly. For example, whatever you have mentioned above. For example, this is about the structure. Board, to subject, that's introduction paragraph. Introduction, that's simple. Rearrange about the wordings of requirement. You have to mention appendix 1, 2. And you start evaluation. Like evaluation. Mentioning the cash offer, mix offer, and then conclusion accordingly. I've just discussed one point, that's cash. You need to cover with the shares as well. Then you have to brainstorm for the conclusion. First, invest your time 20% for planning, then move on for the answers. These are the suggested answers. I will share you the suggested answer. Don't worry about that. Coordinate me on the WhatsApp. I will share you. Don't worry. That's a point. So, This is what the example I've set with you. Students, a practice question with you. I have given you some advices over there. This is the first session. Tomorrow will be the second session. I know that this is a different session. It's not only about just start practice. This first session is actually about what the right thing you need to obey for next 3 weeks. I've discussed the important thing based on this success equation. And I've discussed a limited case with you, how to cover the point. I hope that this session, it's valuable for you. I strongly suggest, if yes, do give feedback on the YouTube channel of the YouTube channel or to the admin team. We will meet tomorrow with a practice question and more things accordingly. Inshallah, tomorrow 6 p.m. Pakistan time, you can connect with me. My WhatsApp number is +923 2182 1784. +923 2182 1784. You can drop a message to the admin team. The admin team can also provide you this document. Otherwise, you can contact me directly. The session has over now. If you have any question, you can ask me. I will reply you accordingly. Yes, please. If you have any question, you can ask.
Hello, sir. I was just inquiring if the revision you're going to do for, I don't know, about 2 to 3 weeks, is it just those questions you're going to be doing, or you're going to be revising topic per topic?
Yes, Zavadi, you can ask me.
Yes. Did you hear anything? Okay, let me type.
I'm waiting for your question. Okay, thank you very much from my side. And the students can ask the queries accordingly. Thank you.